passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in! Touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond.
Swing it line! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jarid Watson.
And we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Hello and welcome. Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and Beyond. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jarid Watson, and this podcast is brought to you by Waiting for Next Year. Check them out. Original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Well, the Browns' schedule is out. The Ravens on the road to start with a home game against the Steelers to end the year. We're going to discuss those games and everything in between. Also, Baker Mayfield is excited about what is ahead in 2020. Odell Beckham Jr. is ready for a breakout season, according to him. And Hollywood Higgins took a, there's more details on that contract coming out on him taking a little bit less money to stay in Cleveland because he feels like it's in his best interest and to stay in Cleveland to succeed. The Cavs opened up on Friday, May 8th, and finally an NBA conference call led by Adam Silver gives a peek into what is ahead for the NBA. But first, according to our predictions, of course, it's your 16-0 2020 Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns.
Happy May, everybody. To some of us who live in the Northeast, it is a very, very warm 30 degrees with only a 25 mile per hour wind. It is, there's actually snow above us today, which is incredible for May 9th.
We brought in our plants, Andy. We brought some plants in that we haven't put in the front yard yet. Now we're debating on when to put them back out because we don't want to shock them with the 40-degree weather.
Oh, it is shocking. It is shocking. I'm going out after this to go into the shocking and get wind burn, which who would ever think that would be happening in May? Here's my key points about the schedule, and then we'll do the schedule game. I really do think that starting Baltimore, that is as hard as it gets for obvious reasons. You're playing the MVP. We, as in Browns fans, and the Browns won last year in Baltimore, so we should keep that in mind. But we all know that awful number, 119-1. It's a terrible number. It's an ugly number. And really the Browns, I think, need to, if they can, win that game. I think it's important. All that to be said, here are my three keys to the schedule. Then I'll let you do your thing, and then we'll do schedule game.
Yep.
One is, I think you need to beat the Bengals twice in these first 7 games. If you beat the Bengals twice in the first 7 games, I think that really settles out your first half of the schedule. The bye's right in the middle. Beat the Bengals twice. Everything sets up from there. 2, win 5 to 6 home games. Just win 5 to 6 home games. You got to win 5 to 6. The Browns really lost their grip on home field last year. They got to win more. They got to do better than what they did last year at home. And then 3. If you do accomplish step 1, beating the Bengals twice, all you do is you split between Pitt and Baltimore. If you do that, you're 4-2 in the division. And honestly, I think if you do those things, Jarid, everything plays out. I know everybody goes in these fancy equations and fancy scheduling and all that. The only thing to me that stuck out more this year, because the Bengals are front-loaded, you got to beat the Bengals twice. You have to take care of those games this year, even though it's a Thursday game. Even though it's a game right after the opener on the road, you have to win that game at home. And then you need to, a few weeks later, go to Cincinnati and win that game. That's step 1. I think after that, you can let the schedule settle out. Just win your home games, 4-2 in the division. And I think it's really keep it simple, stupid. Do those things, and then I think, Jarid, the Browns will be fine. Even if they don't win an opener, which I think is important, I think it'll be okay.
The things that stood out to me, if I remember correctly, I'll try to remember some of them at least. When I saw the schedule, was obviously number one, that having that Ravens game in Baltimore to start the season at 1:00 is a quick way for each one of those teams to punch the other in the mouth to start the season, right? I also think it's almost. Looking at the rest of the schedule, I'm okay with having that difficult opening like that. I think it's a great way to start the season. I think it'll be exciting.
It will be exciting.
I don't know that I'm, as a Browns fan, you're like, do I really want to open up with the Ravens? But at the same time, let's beat their asses. Let's make a point. Let's finally, Andy, when's it been? Right? One win to open this since they've been back. So
against the Ravens with Jeff Garcia, that's how long it's been.
So
Dilfer. Was
so it
Dilfer
means a
or
lot.
Yeah, I think it was Garcia. I think it was Garcia.
I think it was.
I think it was Garcia. Anyway,
So you've got that to start the season, but then you're looking at the other thing that stood out is it was strange to me to have both Bengals games before the bye. That's weird to me. The other thing that stands out is that division with the Cowboys, Redskins, Philadelphia, the Browns. That's the only division the Browns have a winning record against since coming back in the past 20 years. So that stands out as a positive for the Browns. Only 2 primetime games this year, which is fine. Ending the season with the Steelers obviously is a solid way to cap everything off. As a Buckeyes fan, it's almost like Ohio State team up north type of deal, at least for those of us who are in that world. Andy, that's not you, but plenty of Browns fans are also Buckeyes fans, so they feel me on that one. Now this is, I think the Raiders game is going to be a catchy one. I think that we've talked about this. Jaguars, Titans. Those are games that the Browns that normally go into where you think they should win, and they never do. They
never beat these 3 teams: Texans, Jaguars, Titans. The AFC South, I think, is being made way too lightly. The Browns have done a historically bad job of winning those games. In Jacksonville, especially. Cecil Short's game, we all know that game, where he fucking goes off and does amazing things and stands on his head. That game where we finally were having a good season with Brian Hoyer, they go down to Jacksonville and they lay an egg. Played terrible that day.
Right.
And really got out Fox against a team that had no reason to win that game. Jacksonville was bad. They were so bad in that game.
Those games, those are the games that like suck the life out of you as a fan. Suck the life out of you as a fan. Hey, Robin chiming in on Facebook saying happy Saturday. Yeah, strange for us to be doing a show on Saturday, but glad to be here with you. Thanks for joining us, Robin. I know that those games, again, they make you feel like, why do I even watch? And I'm really hoping that I don't have that outcome this year. But I don't have any reason to believe anything otherwise.
Well, again, like I think the NFC East this year broke right for the Browns in 2020. The Giants and Redskins are rebuilding and retooling. The Eagles are not the Eagles who won the Super Bowl a few years ago. They aren't. They've lost some of their. And you know, it's a big year for Wentz. Wentz has got a lot to prove. So, they're not exactly a team that's formidable. And the Cowboys are the Cowboys. If you don't take them seriously enough, they'll kick your ass. And if you know what, and if you do, if you don't, but if you do, you can beat them. That's an interesting weekend. Baker did an interview, and he made an interesting point. And I'll actually go hide in the Cowboys game. That Matt, I didn't realize he said that game means a lot to him. He really wants to win that game, being from that area. So that game's got a lot for Baker, and he's already made a point of it that he really is interested in that game. And if everything breaks out, but we all know what that means in the coronavirus world, that is the same weekend as the Red River rivalry game, OU Texas. So that will have a lot of meaning, which is in Dallas. So that's going to have a lot of meaning for Baker as well. So that game, not on paper, but listening to Baker yesterday, that game has a lot on 6. You could tell when he was being interviewed by Nathan and Bo that he wants that game already. So that game for our big player, that's a game we should be circling anyways.
Were you surprised? I was a little bit surprised. I know that the Browns were a huge letdown last year when it came to primetime games, but were you surprised that they only got 2 primetime games on the schedule this year? No?
Nope.
Okay.
And here's the reason why. Because there's a lot going into this year that is just going to placate the Browns, not in bad or good way for how they're doing, but just the nature of the sport. Baltimore's up. Lamar Jackson won the MVP. They're going to get more games. This could be Big Ben's last year. So I think Pittsburgh will get a little bit more of a spotlight. And then burying the lead, Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay didn't have any of this kind of spotlight on them last year. Tampa Bay now gets a huge jump up because of Tom Brady being there.
We've talked about that. They are the it team this year when it comes to the focus, yes.
So because of that, the Browns slid back a little bit. Not because I think the Browns are actually worse or they are perceived worse nationally. It's just because, yes, expectations are lower. But more importantly, these other teams are up. So
storylines, Andy, right? We're talking about storylines here.
Yeah, the Niners. The Niners didn't have a ton of those games. They're going to get a lot more this year.
Yep.
All these teams get a bump up. The Patriots to me, the enigma. I didn't see how many primetime games they got, but my figuring is they probably got a few more still. But truthfully, the Patriots, probably not. So they're probably writing off of their coattails from past years, not so much what they're going into for this year.
Right.
So all that plays too. There's more teams that slid up. The Browns didn't slide back terribly much, but it's just the way it is. The other thing in this schedule, though, that I do like, and I know it's not trendy and it's not sexy or chic, I love the 1 p.m. games on Sunday. I actually think that'll help this young team out a lot. The more 1 o'clock games this team can get, the better. And there's a lot of them on the schedule right now.
Yeah, there's only 3 that aren't. They've got that 4:25 start against the Colts.
It's Indy. Yep. So I think that will help out this team. I know that's not trendy. I know. Wow. Woo, excuse me. I know that's not chic. A little excitement burp there.
Oh.
Where the fuck did that come from? I've had the weirdest 40 hours.
Are you drinking Pepsi for breakfast, Andy?
Pounding kale shakes, which is for another podcast.
Oh, that's probably,
talk about not sexy. But my point being here, stuff like this is all this stuff with the 1 o'clock games. I think is very good for the Browns. I like how it broke out on this. But this schedule's not a bad schedule. There are some tricks to it. I think the end of the year is. I think the last 8 games are everything is supposed to be. The Browns need to be 5-3, 6-2 going into the bye, because after that, it is a buckle up experience. We already talked about the Browns. Robin hit a key point, and her and I talk on and off there all the time. The Browns always do better when they're under the radar. The Indians do better when they're under the radar. The Capitals of LeBron were the enigma. They didn't care, and they flourished in that spotlight. But Robin's right. The Browns always do better when they are underneath the radar and lower expectations. And to be truthful, this team needs that, because they need to be focusing on Zoom conference calls, focusing in what's going on there, and staying on the ground level, which you can't do. So you're doing it on the ground level technology-wise. That's what's important. And the other thing, too, and then we can do the schedule game on, Jared, unless you want to pick apart some more things. The other thing, too, that I caught a lot, which I was not surprised it didn't happen, was everybody saying, oh, well, the Browns get the Thanksgiving Day game. I'm one of the rare fans. I actually don't prefer the Browns playing on Thanksgiving.
No.
I enjoy Thanksgiving being with family. I mean, look, I'd get excited about it, don't get me wrong, but I'm not disappointed. I like having those games with other teams. I prefer actually having – so one day I'll watch the games, yes, but I prefer spending that time with my family. So I didn't mind that. But the other thing is, like, the Browns really haven't earned that game, if I'm being honest.
No, not at all.
They have not earned that spotlight.
Although, so, in reality, the teams that do play on Thanksgiving haven't really earned it over the years either. Some of them. So let's be real about that too.
And the Cowboys laid an egg against the Bills last year.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of letdowns on Thanksgiving. So.
There is, but I just
including
don't think,
the turkey usually. But go.
Including turkey. But the thing is, the Browns don't need those games right now. The Browns need to eat their turkey and be at home, and then get ready to go play Jacksonville in Jacksonville after that. They don't need the trepidation of playing on Fox or on CBS in front of the nation and doing those things. And I think in time they will be there and they'll be ready to roll. But I think right now, Sunday 1 o'clock, I like that. I like a lot of that. I actually think that's what this team needs, especially with what's going on where they can't be on the ground meeting right now in person. Sunday's a 1 o'clock work. Sunday's a 1 o'clock where it's at. It's not sexy. It's not trendy, especially right now as it's May 9th. As we talked about in the last podcast, rookies for the first time starting yesterday are now meeting with the team virtually. So for the first time now, the rookies now are being enfolded into this. Focus on that stuff.
It goes. This also plays into the new regime having this year to figure things out. All of this plays into giving this team time to develop and do it again. Not with the flash and the sparkle of the spotlight, not with a Hard Knocks. Just keep doing those Building the Browns episodes. That's good enough. We don't need anything more than that. And go from there. Andy, I think that wraps up that section. I think we can jump into the schedule game. I'm ready if you are.
Kick it off.
All right. So September 13th, week 1 at Ravens, 1 o'clock. That game is on CBS, of course. And I am, oh boy. It's funny. I'm gonna say Browns 20, Ravens 13.
Oh my gosh, look at you.
I genuinely, I think everything with Lamar was a fluke. I think that tattoo on his chest, he is going to regret. Browns 20, Ravens 13 to start the season. Go ahead.
I'm glad Jared Watson said that because I am going to be on the opposite. I don't think the Browns are going to win that game. I think they're going to lose. I think this game does, though, have the making of. That's why I like this game. I think openers are crazy. This is the 1 week. It's hard. I do like to gamble. I would never gamble big on week 1. I think it's impossible to decipher how these teams are going to come out, especially after a pandemic like this where the teams are away. So it is just impossible right now to really see and foresee these things. So I could change my opinion, but right now I really do think Baltimore's going to win that game. I think they'll be motivated. I think they'll be ready to go. The Browns usually in these kind of games where that is the motive of a team, they usually don't come out well. I think the Browns, it doesn't define their season, but I think they're going to lose this game to start off.
All right. So then we're going to move on to September 17th versus the Bengals. Thursday night football, primetime, 8:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be, of course, on the NFL Network. Andy, I don't think there's a chance in hell the Bengals even get a sniff at this one. I think the Browns win big, win decent, 28-10 maybe.
If you don't beat Joe Burrow in his second start in the NFL, we've got big problems. They're going to win big. I think this is I think blowout type win. The only thing about that game, and I'll hurt it again the second time, is Miss Mixon. If Mixon goes off, that is trouble. I think everything else though, I think we'll play fine. The Redskins is the following week. I know they have Rivera. There's the whole Alex Smith question. Is he coming back? That's a big question in Washington for how they're going to play. Because if you have Alex Smith back and he's healthy, Washington's a very different team. They're average. If they don't have Alex Smith, they're below average with a good defense. With Haskins a quarterback, that's a whole different thing too, because Haskins could play better than he did last year. I don't know. The Redskins have a lot of mystery behind it. All because of that said, again, I'll go in the faith of I think the Browns are just a better team.
Right.
They have more weapons, and they should beat the Redskins in that game. Again, though, the Redskins to me on paper don't look good, but I think there's more mystery to the Redskins because in an off season, if they do have Alex Smith or Haskins improves, I think the Redskins are an 8-9-7 team because their defense is pretty good. But all that to be said, really the Redskins are going to be probably more like 6-10 again, 5-11. So the Browns should win that game at home.
Browns probably in a tight one. That's how I'm looking at this one. Browns tight one. 13-10, something like that. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be a super exciting game. And I think they'll squeak by. Then they go on the road October 4th in Dallas, 1:00. Jerry's World on Fox. A lot of games on Fox because of that divisional play there. So this one, I don't think the Browns win. I don't think the Browns win on the road in Dallas. I just don't think it happens. I think it all depends. It could happen if Baker doesn't allow that hype to get the best of him, where he plays tight, where he's trying to force things, where he's doesn't know how to reel it in and play relaxed. And I don't trust that he can do that. We'll see if he can. I think the Cowboys win.
I actually am torn on this game because before Baker's statement, I was on Jared Watson camp. Dallas is another team, very weird, because they have so much talent. And at the end of the day that they can win any of these games, they can lose any of these games. The Cowboys are a very, very hard team to figure out. I agree with Jared. I think now that Baker is going to put a lot of pressure to win on this game could be actually a negative. I just get the feeling, though, Red River rivalry weekend, and because Baker went on that Trump, I thought I wouldn't be saying this, but I'll actually say the Browns will win that game. I could see them win that game. The Cowboys are not impossible. Will be my line on this. They're not impossible. You can win that game. I think because of Baker's focus this year, I think it's I guess I'm going on this theory. I think 6 will be much more focused. And so because of that, I'll take them on the road in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. I hope that that's the case. I need to see the evidence of it.
I'm with you.
That's all.
I'm with you. And this is the 425 game, the Indianapolis Colts. This is the only 425 game the Browns have right now. If you look at the Colts and you think they can win with Phillip Rivers, wow, you must not be thinking high in the Browns. I'm taking the Browns because I like Reich. I think the Colts are really well coached, but there's nothing on the Colts that excites you. I don't know how you can get excited about Indianapolis.
You're right.
So I take the Browns. I think, again, as the season goes on, could they sleepwalk if they win in Dallas? And sure, if they lose in Dallas, they'll certainly win that game. But I think it's just there. I just don't see the Browns losing a game like that. I just don't.
Agreed. Browns win at home against the Colts. Then they move on to Pittsburgh, October 18th, 1:00 game. And this is, we'll see what happens. Myles Garrett's back. Ben Roethlisberger is should still be playing at that point. We'll see how he handles the start of the season. I don't know the Browns win this first game against Pittsburgh. I just don't. So I'm going to have to go ahead and say they're not going to pull it off. The Browns don't win at Pittsburgh to start.
I'm 100% in your corner on this. I don't see the Browns win this game. I just don't. The Browns never win this game. I hate to say that. I don't think, and by the way, it's not a horrible thing that they do. You want to win these games on the road at Baltimore, at Pitt. Just win those home games.
Win the home games and win both of those Bengals games. Yeah,
that's my point. It's okay. I don't think they're going to win this game either. The Steelers have a very good defense. We saw they're not impossible, but it's good. Ben is a big difference with them. They just look old to me on paper, but I just have learned over the years that there's just something in that fucking catch-up stadium that does weird things to my team and our team, and it just fucks us up. I don't see him win that game either. So 2 L's. I already did my rant about the Bengals, so I'm not going to really change too much. I really don't see them losing either one of these games, and if they do, then the Browns are in much bigger trouble than what I thought. The Browns will leave Pittsburgh and head down to Cincinnati, and I don't see them losing this game either. Another 1:00, another hopefully nice sunny day, sunny fall day, and the Browns. There's just Andy. How do they not win? I just don't see a possibility that this Bengals team is going to all of a sudden be ready to roll just because they got Joe Burrow. I mean, you're talking about a completely different Cincinnati Bengals team that's going to be trying to figure out their lives for at least the first half of the season. And the Browns catch both games before the bye week. So no, that helps a lot. I think the Bengals not being in the back half of the schedule.
A lot.
Yeah. I really, really do. I think they win. I'm not going to elaborate too much. Now, the Raiders game to me is tricky. The Raiders have a lot of talent. They're really well coached. And at some point, this is just my schedule game. There's too many wins for me on the board almost. Is the Browns win this game on my schedule, they go into the bye 6-2. So that's a lot of wins going into the bye. Could the Browns really be 6-2 going to the bye against the Raiders at home? Tough to say, tricky. This game to me is, again, I don't know why. The Raiders are another team that have always been a little bit of a thorn. They never win in Oakland, so thank God we're not playing now in Vegas. Thank God we're not. I guess maybe Vegas will bring different things. I'll just go on this theory. David Carr, who I thought was going to be a good quarterback in this league, has not stood out. He just has not played up to his ability. The Raiders, even though they have speed, they're going back to their Al Davis days, speed and athletic ability. All that to be said, the Raiders really don't put a complete product on the field.
No.
The Raiders played above their head at times, and at times they played below. They're very Jekyll and Hyde. What a surprise about the Raiders. They can beat you one week and lose. They're like the Cowboys in that way. I'll say the Browns win, but this would not surprise me if this is a loss. I think this is one of those games where I think everybody will give the Browns a win. If we were talking on November 2nd, we were coming off a loss, it wouldn't surprise me, but I'll take the Browns and the win here.
Browns win. And I think that I've got 2 losses. Do I have 2 losses in that first?
Yes.
I do. Yeah. So 6-2. They're a little bit different, but
6-2. No one's ever going to say different. If you have a bye on week 9, you've made out wonderfully because you got 8 games in, 8 games out. You cannot complain about a bye on week 9.
No, I don't really have many complaints about this schedule at all.
Like last year, no excuses. No excuse.
No, there's none.
None.
And let's be real honest about this. The Browns could turn around. It could be 5-11. Sorry. I mean, you never know.
Well, to your point, we're going to turn now until I think the first half of the schedule is a lot easier than the second half. I think the second half is a lot of landmines. Anyway, so let's start the landmine machine. They come off a bye to play the Texans. And this is where I'll say the tough march ahead.
At least it's at home. At least it's at home.
They never beat the Texans. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I'm going on that theory here. I'm taking the Texans. They never beat the Texans. The two teams on paper are quite even. O'Brien is a very good technician coach. If you make the Texans squirm, O'Brien can really shit his pants in a big spot, and he's proven that. But he's very analytical driven, and he shows that with his decision making on the field, which can be a bad thing and a good thing. I think because of that, though, I just have learned over the years there's just some things you got to take. This is one of them. I'll go with the theory. I'll say the Browns lose. I hope I'm wrong, but I think the Browns lose this game.
Same. Nothing else to say. They don't beat the Texans.
They just don't beat the Texans.
Until you show me otherwise. No, not going to happen. Moving on to the Eagles. Now, I feel this is this is a gimme win in my books too. I don't think the Browns have any issues with the Eagles coming to Cleveland.
The Eagles Super Bowl days are done. Though that was a long time ago now. Carson Wentz, has got a lot to prove this year. There's a lot of pressure on him to win. I'm with Jared on this. I think this is a tight game down to the end, nail biter. But I think the Browns somehow find a way to win. I really do. So we'll both have them at 7-3 going into the last 6. Okay. I'm just going to lead off this. If they don't fucking beat Jacksonville this year on a year that they're fucking giving up and not giving a shit about life, I am going to say, holy hell, there is a curse with the Jaguars over the Browns. They never beat Jacksonville. I'm sure they've beaten them once or twice. I don't remember those times. This is one of those games where, again, I think it's a given. I will finally say this fucking curse and hex is over. I think they blow them the fuck out.
Yeah.
And they beat the shit out. And by the way, I want to. If I sound angry, I am. I'm tired of losing to Jacksonville. It finally stops. They win big.
Same. No argument. There's no way. There's no way. Because if there is a way and it happens, then I don't.
If you
again, it's so deflating to watch them lose games like that.
If you lose on a year where Jacksonville is trying to lose games, don't fucking come back.
Don't come back.
Just stay in Jacksonville and take a road trip to Nashville.
Which again, there's another one. So I think they beat the Jags. I think
yes.
I think they might lose to the Titans.
I'm going to state this. If the Browns beat the Titans, buckle up. It's going to be great. Because this is their first big test. If you can beat the Titans on the road, wow, you're gone places. They showed you up last year. They went on a run last year through the playoffs. They went into Baltimore. They went into New England, and they won big games and big spots. The Browns aren't going to win this game. I hope I'm wrong. But I just don't think that they're up to the mustard.
Browns don't win this one, and I think they also lay an egg on Monday Night Football as they take on the Ravens in Cleveland. I think that December 14th game, Monday Night Football. Nope, I think they lose. I think that's the one that I think they win the opener, and then I think they lose the second game.
All right. Well, I got positive news. I think they're going to win this game. And I would not be surprised if this is the game that flips them into drive, because we just talked about how it was good for the Bengals, those games to be early. These next 2 games after the Baltimore game are so weird. They are so weird. So, but to stay on this game, I do actually think the Browns have, at this point in the season, should be turning on the gas and will win a good, hard-fought game. I think they will beat the Ravens and the Steelers at home. So I will even give that away now on January 3rd. So I think they win that game. Now, the next two, okay.
These for me, look, I think the Browns win in New York and they beat the Giants, and I think they win. In New York against the Giants and against the Jets.
Okay,
I think they win both games.
So we're going to even out our schedules. I don't know which one they're going to lose one. I don't know which one. They're going to lose one of these games. I
can't see it, Andy. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I just have learned this. They're going to lose one of these games.
No, they're winning them both.
I hope you're right.
You think Odell's going to not go off on December 20th? I think he is.
Okay, they'll lose to the Jets. So, yeah.
They're not going to lose to the Jets.
I know. They're going to lose one of these games. I just know. I just have learned this.
My eyes will pop out of my head like Adam Gase if they lose to the Jets. It's not happening.
I'll say they'll lose the Jets. I bet you they beat the Giants. The Giants are so bad. For how much people don't like the Odell Beckham trade, the Giants have been that shittier without him. So just keep that in mind, okay?
Here's the one. And Paul Flynn commenting on Facebook, Big Ben ready for a Grizzly comeback beard of the year.
As birds fly out. That beard.
Man, I'm working on mine right now. If it didn't grow in so damn patchy.
I really do think this is the game where the Browns excel. I think they finally beat the Steelers in the year. We've lost so many. Let's not review all those losses where we lost not only quarterbacks at times, but coaches too. Obviously, it's always a coaching loss. Where not only they lose the game, they get fired the next day, as predicted here 2 years ago by Hugh Jackson. But look, they're going to win this game.
Get out of my fucking office, Andy.
Here's the reason why. I think the Browns are going to go to the playoffs, and if they're going to go to the playoffs, they have to win this game. So they're going to win this game.
Browns. It would be such a beautiful send off if this were the final game that Ben played in Cleveland Brown Stadium, in First Energy Stadium, and I think the Browns win big. I think the Browns destroy Pittsburgh that last game of the year.
It would not surprise me. They actually last year manhandled the Steelers, but they were so out of sync that the scoreboard didn't show that, and they allowed the Steelers to hang around in that game. Mm-hmm. But the Browns were clearly the better team, and when they played at First Energy, and honestly, they're the better team than Pittsburgh. The team was just going through the wickets of a bad season at that point. And they, T-shirt gate and Myles Garrett, it was all bad. So, yeah, I think 11-5. So we both have 11-5.
11-5.
So here's what I will do for myself.
Or 5-11. Or 5-11.
So I'll take off my brown orange glasses. I'll adjust my schedule to 10-6. I don't know which one of those games will flip, but I think 10-6 feels right. My big statement again, I made this out. Don't get fooled by these AFC South teams. The Browns have not played well in that division. That has not been a cakewalk. I think way too many people make that way too easy. Right. I made my point about the trickiness in New York. I don't like that. I don't like those two games in New York. I really don't. Sandwich around the Steelers and the fucking Ravens. That is a tricky. I think
it's strange, but I don't listen. I think that this is going to come down. Those are the types of games, and that's the type of road series that you're looking at coaching, right?
Hey, I'll tell you.
Discipline, coaching. I really think that what happens in those two games will tell you a lot about the discipline and coaching.
You're right. I'll tell you another one. Waltzing into Jacksonville after Thanksgiving and winning that game would be great. And you think it'd be a given, but the Browns have proven over the years nothing's a given when it comes to Jacksonville. Absolutely nothing. So that's the schedule. Like I said, we both have 11-5. I'm being realistic. 10-6 is probably my number. But 11-5. Look, everything's ahead. I will recap this one more time. The Browns need to beat the Bengals twice. The first 8 games is much more digestible than the last 8. I think the last 8's got a lot of trickiness to it. Win 4-2 in the division, win your home games, everything will be fine. Those are the keys. I really do think those are the keys. And again, Jared hit on a good point. Coaching is going to come involved in any schedule. And obviously the Browns, like any other team, has got schedules where it's like, hey,
I think that's where you get the flip, Andy, the 5-11 or the 11-5.
Yeah. Well, again, are we going to see Baker Mayfield in 18? Are you going to rely on Nick Chubb to win you games late in the game instead of trying to force balls? And if certain plays don't work, are you going to keep trying to fucking force it all year? Are you going to stay focused? Are you going to stay hungry? Like, all those things come in play here. But, all that to be said, Jared said it, I said it, so I'll harp one more time. This is not an unfair schedule. This is not one of those schedules where you start to wince. It's very fair. I think there's some hurdles in here too. But, if the Browns play their cards right with all the weapons they have, I think you could go as high as 12-4. And I really don't see this team going lower than 8-8.
Yeah,
8-8 would be a bad
I know
year.
I joke around with 5-11, but I would see 8-8, and 8-8 wouldn't make me happy. I don't think 8-8 would make this coaching staff happy. I do think it would give them another year, or at least I think even 7-9 would. But I can see them. I can see a 9-7 and a playoff miss. I can see that, which would I got to be honest, that would drive me up a fucking wall. A 9-7 with a playoff miss would drive me up a fucking wall, because you would just look at the schedule and you would know that some of those losses were stupid and shouldn't have fucking happened. And that's where we're gonna get aggravated if they can't win these ones, either that they should, or that need a late score or something to keep them in to get that win. They got to find ways to get the W on those certain games that look like they can go either way. That's where the discipline, the coaching, all that stuff is going to come into play.
Playing through injuries, making key plays in big spots, also come and play here. The Browns have not been good since '99 about making key plays in big spots. We drop passes. We pre-snap penalties. We love a weird timeout in a bad spot. We've seen all this throughout the years, not just recently. Throughout the years, we've had bad moments.
Plays beyond the line of scrimmage.
Again, big plays, big spots. My big saying, I think I'll maybe start harping, is keep it simple, stupid. Mm-hmm. The Browns have the talent. You got all these weapons. Keep it simple. I really think that will be the big thing. All right, to run through this rest, because I actually now have to run somewhere here shortly. Baker May, it's been one of those. I've had a crazy last 2 days.
Well, we did plan on this being a short show, so other than the computer losing its mind, we're good.
Well, exactly. Baker Mayfield is ready to roll. He did an interview with Nathan and Bo. Some of the quotes: "Quote: Every interaction I've had with Kevin's been great. He is who he is, and he's climbed the ladder quickly because he's well respected and is an extremely sharp guy. He knows what he's doing. He knows the exact approach he wants to attack with." And he said some other nice things. I think the big thing that he came off to is like, it's kind of driving me crazy. We're not able to get there and all be together, but it's for the better of everyone and their healthy and their safety. I'm really excited, end quote from Mr. Six. The big thing I took out of Baker Mayfield when I was more of his visual cues. He seems very relaxed. Yeah. He seems like he's a guy who's really, really trying to focus on what's ahead.
Hanging out on the lake with his wife.
To be fair, and we haven't really talked about this, the big thing I've seen from Baker Mayfield, which I think is a great sign, he could have easily jumped on the grocery train here when that whole thing went down back around February and really gone off and done some things. And he hasn't done that, and he hasn't even gone around those circles. I think Mayfield and some other examples too shows to be already a different guy. We all know that doesn't mean a damn thing until September. But when you're in Baltimore, but I will say from the outside, I really like his visual cues. I like how he looks composed and relaxed. He is confident still, but not over the top cocky. And there's a big difference. And we saw, and you like cocky.
It's the tone that you're already seeing being set by Coach Stefanski, and the difference between the tone that he's setting and the tone that Freddie let him go, let him do whatever he wanted. Let Baker be Baker. Stefanski probably is, I don't know that he even has to do it with his words, but he's probably doing it with his persona and the way of acting. I'm sure that there have been conversations that we aren't privy to, but at the same time, you can already tell that it's having an influence on the way that Baker is approaching everything.
It seems like a different guy. OBJ did a big YouTube channel reveal where he did his own little music video with music to it. You see him working out. You see him in the fountains, and all that kind of stuff. It's a very modern video for a millennial guy, so it all makes sense. Right now, what I'm trying to do is hit the reset button, end quote, Beckham says. Another quote from him. being able just to get everything fixed, shoulder, arms, back, everything aligned, functional, moving properly, so I can begin training to be ready for the season. He is thinking big things, and he has already been saying to people, I honestly think this is going to be one of my best seasons. Bigger, stronger, faster. This is my time. And
Well, Odell was talking about the compensation injuries that came from after, his ankle injury and the compensating, that comes from that. And when he's talking about getting realigned, I really do believe that all of that comes into play with how he will look this coming season.
Yeah.
He has had time to focus on these things, to work on these issues, to realign himself, as he is saying. And I think that makes all the difference in the world. Because when you're not compensating for that stuff, you can focus strictly on football, on making the plays, on making the catches. You're not worried about making a cut and hurting yourself. You're not doing things differently than you would be if you had the injury. So I can buy into this stuff. If you didn't watch the video and you just read the quotes, you can see that, take this as him being cocky. I'm telling you, when you watch it, he's just working out and he's just believing in himself at this point. And it's nothing crazy, flashy, over the top. It just is what it is, and it shows you that he's getting ready and he's getting prepared for the season. Period.
A lot of athletes are doing what he's doing. It's not anything different or everything else.
Nope.
I just thought it was nice from Odell. He took us behind the curtain for a little bit. You can tell he's feeling good. The other big thing that I took out of it was actually what happened with his injury. Quote back, my last quote here, but quote. So last year I was in training in June and July, and I was kind of feeling stuff around the growing area, abs and stuff like that. By third week in training camp, I tear a little piece of my ab. So therefore I had a hernia thing going on. Sports hernia is what they call it. It ended up at the end of the season, torn abductor, torn. I can't pronounce that, but anyways, on the right. Look, here's the big thing about Beckham that I think we got to learn. He played injured last year, and I don't think that's being talked about enough. He played injured last year and had a hell of a year for a guy who sounds like he was really injured. Let's keep that in mind this year. So I just think that time gets brushed way too lightly, and it's not fair to him. And he was injured and hurt last year, and he showed a lot of guts out there. So I think that should always be kept in mind about Odell.
Yep.
But people like to pound on him. And that's all I'm going to say. I mean, I really do think that gets pushed away way, way too often. Higgins, he was on 92.3 with Bull and Fox, and he said, we needed a great leader, a great coach, somebody that's going to push us, and here we are. We've got a new group, brought a staff to help us win games. I just feel like moving forward, that's what we needed. We needed a great leader, a great coach, somebody that's going to push us to win, and here we are. I repeated some of that. Here's my big thing to what Jared said. This new coaching staff, from what I can tell, really, really seems to have this team fired up in the right way. Not in the right way as in fighting people in the Colts training camp, but actually fighting for wins, fighting to stick together, and really getting excited for the season. Higgins' quotes, along with Baker's quotes, really sound similar. They really are talking about how they feel like this staff is getting this team in the best position to win. So again, we did this last year. It does not mean wins in September. But I'll tell you, it's hard not to get positive, feeling good into this stretch here going into the summer.
We always knew that there was something strange going on with Hollywood and with the coaching staff last season. We weren't sure what it was, but this clearly articulates that as well. And what is crazy to me that you don't see all that often in the league is that Higgins, it now comes out, it seems like he might have had more money elsewhere. And he made the choice to stay in Cleveland because he trusts and believes in Baker Mayfield.
Right.
That beyond the new coaching staff, he also loves playing for that quarterback. And that is another huge up for this team to know that, people aren't trying to run out of Cleveland. Higgins could have ran out of Cleveland. He didn't want to. So
no, it's very true.
And to be honest, thank God he didn't, because we don't know what this wide receiver core would be if it was just Odell and Jarvis Landry.
Yeah, and again, I just think
Damian Ratley. All right, so I love you, Damian. Yeah,
we will be doing the season's review 2 and 3 later in the month, and I'm going to be talking about some of my nice guys, I'm sure, but I'm so looking forward not hearing. Here's Hilliard out for a short screen. Hilliard for Harris going across the middle for a big third down catch. These are players who are no longer going to be in these spotlights. I think it'll go a long way. The thing that was so fucking odd that they did that we did not point out well, which I'm pointing out now, the Browns tried to get too damn cute. And it really started, and I should have known, last year when Dorsey traded away Duke Johnson for what he got for another fucking draft pick. And I went off about it, but I didn't go off about it hard enough. Here we go again. You're taking away your good players, and you're not supplementing them back in. You're trading them for draft picks. I'm glad. I'm proud. Odell Beckham's still on the team. Olivier Vernon's still on the team, which I didn't know if I was going to do, but I'm glad to see that because watching last year, Emmanuel Ogbah, Cam Irving, Mitchell Schwartz win a Super Bowl for the Chiefs, it made me sit, and Mitchell Schwartz we all knew, but Ogbah and Irving, it really started making me realize, we are not doing a good job of taking players in and growing them in the system.
No.
And this
SI just did an article on Deshaun Kaiser and him getting cut again, and they started that article with the fact that he was never developed by the Browns, and it, all roads lead back to Cleveland and not being able to.
And by the way, that's a fair comment. You can go into that because that was a terrible team. But my point being is, I just think at times, even again, Dorsey we trust. Dorsey trading away Duke Johnson kind of set off the year we were looking ahead, where they're still making the same stupid errors and the same stupid mistakes. Put in regime here where it's like, Duke Johnson, we don't need him. Do you not really need Duke Johnson? You did in that Seahawks game. You did in some other examples.
Egos and personalities getting in the way, and we talked about this. This coaching staff does not operate with egos and personalities. They operate with real intellect and emotional intelligence and emotional maturity. Period.
Yes. Again, harboring talent, something I want to talk about more and more. The Browns have to start doing that. They just have to. And if they don't, it's just not going to work. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The days of seeing Ogbah and some of these other guys go to other places and be contributors to a Super Bowl team really, really set my mind straight of we are getting rid of too many players who, yes, aren't stars and aren't great players, but maybe it isn't so much their player on the field because Ogbah didn't play well. Maybe it is because of other things that are going around. And I'm going to start doing more of a role of we need to stop getting rid of players and keeping players in and developing them. That is one of the bigger things that doesn't get talked about enough. And the Browns have not done that, period. And we won't go into that today. But anyways, so there's your Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Quickly on the Cavs NBA. The Cleveland Clinic's court opened up on Friday, May 8th. Kevin Love was excited. Quote, "It was the longest I've ever gone without shooting a basketball, so I didn't care. I just wanted to get some shots up," end quote. There are 4 players here coming in at a time. I think it's cool to hear Kevin Love talk about this.
Does he not have a basketball hoop at his house?
Well,
is he only hanging out with his Vishla?
Well, by the way, maybe he's in a portion of his world where he's living in an apartment or in a condo.
I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so it's one of the situations where you can tell, he was going stir crazy. But Kevin Love was excited. If you don't know, the coaches are wearing latex gloves. This is a text message that was given to ESPN from a Cavs coach. Quote, "Latex gloves make your hands sweat more than I ever knew. Definitely took a little getting used to with the gloves, but definitely the safest technique right now," end quote.
If you know how to put them on and remove them, yeah, I guess. I haven't looked enough into the latex glove keeping you safe stuff yet.
Yeah.
Wash your hands.
Well, there's no showering allowed to be on. They're either allowed to be in the training room, weight room, or in the gym. That's it. There's no other else. There's no hydro chambers. There's no, whirlpools. There's no showers. You're getting here and coming out. Larry Nance was also practicing with Love. Is Love, Osman, Zizic, and Nance start off. And quote from Lance, this is from Cleveland.com. They were all pretty excited about it. One of the sources said, "Felt great, Larry Nance. It was a bit weird, but they could make me shoot with one eye closed on one leg at 4 a.m. I'd still be here." So basically, the players were itching to come back. For people who don't know, I know Andre Drummond, Tristan Thompson, and Sexton, they are not in the city. They are not in the state of Ohio. So if you're looking for those kind of names, you're not going to see them right away as they are in different places. So you're not going to see those guys so much initially because even when they come back, they're going to have to be quarantined. So I think to the bigger question, it is great to hear these stories. It's good to see that stuff. And it's also nice to see the Cavs are taking every precaution, which I knew they would, going into something like this. The Cavs have been really up and Cavs have been up in front with paying people, safety. Not surprising here. They're having a good opening. The bigger story that came out last night, though, was the NBA is preparing players for the challenges ahead. And the bigger thing that I think, there's a lot of quotes from Silver, so I'll get right to the meat of it. It sounds like it's not going to be May, obviously. It may not even be June. But the bigger thing that they're saying is we're going to do it when the time is right. We're not going to rush in. Silver is thinking Orlando and Las Vegas made the most sense. It's going to be one place. Everybody stays there. I've heard a lot of rumors. I've seen a lot of articles written about how they might harbor them at Walt Disney World, where all the teams will stay at all the resorts and stay at some of the hotels. Obviously, there's plenty of facilities there, and then you can play. And there's multiple courts, and that so you can play and do something like that. Vegas makes sense too, because again, there's multiple courts, multiple open facilities. You can do something like that in. Both those make a lot of sense. The bigger thing here is there's no point in adding risk for all the flying of all of you city to city, Silver said on this conference call. We think it'd be safer to be in a single location, 2 locations to start. The goal isn't to have you go to a market for 2 months to sit in a hotel room, end quote. There's going to be a lot of restrictions. You can tell the bigger thing here from Silver is in one of the last quotes in the article, quote, until there's a vaccine or some cocktail preventing people from dying from the virus, we are going to be dealing with this collaboratively and collectively. The ultimate issue is how much risk we're all comfortable taking, end quote. I think that was a smart statement by him.
Smart statement, not forcing anything. He doesn't sound like these airline CEOs that make me want to fucking throw things at my TV. Very, very measured in that statement. Very realistic. I think that anytime you gather a bunch of people in any area, even if it's just for a short while, you have to be careful because as you see, it's that when you're in groups, it spreads. Once it gets in, it spreads like wildfire, right?
Yes.
That's really why we see these meat packing companies that are getting shut down, where you're getting 600 people that test positive because they're all in the same area. They're all in the same place. Sports is no different. And we're talking about the players, not even the fans. We're not even at the point where we could even think of fans being in a collective place and watching. But even these players stepping onto the basketball court, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 folks all in one area, that starts to get dangerous if it gets in with one of them. So the living conditions, if they are to play out the season, keeping everyone in one place isn't always necessarily the safest thing, depending on whether someone has it, right?
Well, that's why the last sentence is a smart statement. The ultimate issue is how much risk we are all comfortable taking. Yeah. Because it's a risk. Until there's a vaccine, I mean, he's right. I think that's a really smart statement by him. Yeah. Look, you see the headlines now. It's going through the White House. There's a lot of different people who are getting it. You can make many different examples. It can be anywhere from meat packing to the White House. I mean, it doesn't matter. White collar, blue collar. You're going to get this.
Yeah, we say it all the time. The virus doesn't give a shit. Yeah. It doesn't give a shit about your politics, about any of it. The virus doesn't fucking care.
The one thing, though, that I wanted to hit on this, and you can read the article. It's on ESPN.com. The one thing that I took out of this, though, from the NBA perspective, I thought that was a very realistic call about what's really going on. And you could tell from the conversations, there were some real questions. There was a real back and forth between players and owners. And in this case, players and owners being represented by Silver. And I thought that was very smart. That was probably not an easy call, but it was the right call. And it's a good thing. Everything's not rainbows and unicorns and with farting glitter. It's really about like, hey, here's what's really going on. Let's really take a look at this. Here's what's ahead. I really applaud Silver. The NBA, as I mentioned on this podcast, is in the hardest spot compared to any of these sports because it's indoor. Yeah. So for him to get ahead of this with a call like that, he is on the right path, even if this takes the longest. Silver is on the right path, and I thought that was a good sign for an NBA where I thought they needed some positive news. I thought that was a very good sign from Adam Silver on that phone call.
Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, on Twitter @CLE and Beyond, and shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. That's JARID, Andy and Jared @gmail.com. We're brought to you by Waiting for Next Year. Check them out. Original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Andy, final thoughts?
I have to rush out, so I don't have any final thoughts.
No shit.
My computer crashed. My big thing is, look, okay, now I vented on myself. The schedule is very doable. The first 8 is a lot easier than the second 8. I think the second 8's where we're going to really see the meat on this team. I'm excited about the Cavs starting up and practicing. I thought Baker Mayfield said a lot. And again, I just think the schedule game, all the stuff said, these things kind of help in these times. But I think the overall message here is, you know what? Even with those tricks, even if there's things in there that look, every team's got that. And let's be honest, this is a winnable year. And it maybe, and I think the nice thing is the Sunday at 1 o'clock. Well, I'll take that note. The Sunday at 1 o'clock should not be looked as a negative. That's a positive.
Andy with his no final thoughts. 11-5, baby. It's happening. Playoffs. It's happening.
Bet your cashier's checks in Vegas now.
He's Andy Billman.
I'll take your money.
He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. Take care. Have a safe weekend. And love you all. Thanks for tuning in. Take care. Bye.